Before looking at a zero-waste paradigm, it's useful to understand how we create waste in the first place. And if we look at it through a geometric paradigm, we have the ecology in which all things are connected. But we look at the ecology, we refract the ecology through a system, through the lens of language, through the lens of paradigms and systems. Now, if we break the circle down into a three-point system, we create the illusion of waste, because in a three-point system, you go from here to here to here, and all of this stuff out here is waste. It's almost half of the circle. So simpler systems have more waste. If you create a binary system, see, good and bad, good and evil, is a binary system. You take the one, divide it into two, that's polarity, and this side is good, and this side is bad. So you have a 50% waste system, because as soon as you cut the world in half and then decide this is the good half and this is the bad half, because all polarity is dependent on one another for contrast, you now have 50% of the world is bad. And of course, having decided that good is better than bad, you then try and get rid of the bad, and the bad becomes waste. So, what is waste? Waste is what doesn't fit into the system that is created always with human consciousness. All systems are founded on language, and all systems have a remainder, meaning you can cut the world in half and then you have 50% waste. You can cut the world into triangles and have close to 50% waste. You can cut the world into 4 segments, and then you have this waste on the outside here. It's getting smaller. You can even create like a 6 or 12-point system where we go along like this. But the waste is what doesn't fit into the system. And when you take the one, when you take reality, when you take ecology, and you divide it into pieces, there is always a remainder, something that doesn't fit into the box. Now, we call that waste, but another word for it would be that which we do not know what to do with. So we take a tree, for example, and this bit makes good paper. So, we cut off the bark because bark doesn't make good paper. And we work with this section of the tree. We remove the branches because it's difficult to remove all the bark from the branches. And then we run the wood through a process to create paper pulp. And in that system, a system has an objective, and it has a protocol, a process of obtaining that objective. And every objective has a counterpart. You could call it distractions. You could call it the enemy of the objective. You could call it diversions. You could call it failure. When you set out with a goal, then the things that block your way to achieving the goal are the enemies of the goal, or the failure. I got to step 1 and then I got sidetracked, and so I failed to achieve the goal. But this is a system that is created in human consciousness with language. We say, this is the goal. We come up with a word for self. want. We come up for a word for trying to magnetize something. Money, whatever. And then if you're on the way, so then you create a system. You create a system to get the money. I have to go to school so that I can get a job, and I have to show up at the job, and I have to do this, 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 and this. And I have to do that again, this, 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 and I have to do it 5 days a week for X number of hours. And then money comes to me. That's the system. Now, that's the system of making money, with the goal being to make money. Now, anything that interrupts that system, oh, I'm too tired, I don't want to go to work. Well, that's a block to the system. That's to be, suppressed, denied, overlooked, etc. Then you get out the door, and the neighbor's dog is needing to get some help. They've left the dog out of the house, but you're going to be late for work, right? So there's another impediment. And then you get and someone's driving in the lane slow, and you've got all of these different impediments. And so when you create an objective and you create a system for achieving that objective, there will be a remainder, bits of energy that doesn't fit efficiently into the box or into the system. And what we have done in our consciousness through language is we've allocated that energy to a word called waste, meaning that which we do not know what to do with in order to achieve our objective. Now, what's important to understand is that what we do not know what to do with is very different than something that is innately useless. All energy in an interconnected ecology has a function, has a use. But we do not see the entire ecology. What we see is a dumbed-down version that we're capable of grasping. We often like very simple paradigms, such as good and bad, and then we don't have to think about half of what is, because we call that bad and can focus on, the good thing. And so that's what we do. And particularly if we have a nice little simple process of, let's say, work, romance, and money, or health, money, and love. This is a very simple thing. And then, well, what about this? What about going and gardening? Is it healthy? Is it? No, that doesn't fit in my system. So I don't have any use for that. When we create simple systems, there is a very big remainder. But it is not waste. Waste is a lazy word that we ascribe to energy patterns, because everything is a pattern of energy. Some things have a frequency like that. Some things have a frequency like this. Some things happen every second. Some things happen every week. They're all cycles and patterns of energy. And they all do something. They all have a role in some system and in some goal. If the goal is to avoid going home, to avoid a difficult conversation that you don't want to have, then suddenly the neighbor's dog, oh, thank heavens, I've got useful distractions. And then, I could go shopping, and there's a movie before I get home. Maybe my partner will be in bed by the time I get home, and what a wonderful thing. They have late night movies. I've got to go. And suddenly the thing that was an impediment to achieving the goal in one system is now something you're clinging to for dear life because it has a use in the new goal. So the goal is all about you. You decide the goal. This is my goal. This is my objective. That's all about you. And you design the system, or you let someone else design it and pick it. Someone else says, this is what you do if you want to do this, and you just do it. You don't think about it. You don't iterate the system. You just do it. But you pick the goal, and you pick or design the system. And that which does not fit into that goal, into that system, can easily be labeled as waste, as negative, as that which is undesirable. But it is only undesirable from the lens through which you are viewing. Now, let's look at plastic bags, another form of waste. So we have a system. We take oil out of the ground that we want. So the oil is not waste because we want it. And we turn the oil into plastic, and that's not waste because we want it. And we turn the plastic into plastic bags, and that's not waste because we want it. And we pick the plastic bag at the store, and that's not waste because we want it to carry something. But then we get home, and there's a crumpled, perhaps slightly wet, perhaps fingerprinted, perhaps a little dirty, perhaps something spilled in it. Little bits of carrot fell out into that. And now we don't know what to do with it. So we took energy, oil, transformed it into a pattern of energy that we wanted, utilized the energy, and now we don't know what to do with the bag. So the bag is a pattern of energy that we created, that we used in part of the cycle, and then we don't know what to do with it. Now, ecology, nature, is a zero waste system. There is no instance on the entire planet where all forms of energy are not used by life, by nature, to create something. A leaf falls from a tree and becomes composted into soil, and the tree grows healthier, and other trees grow healthier, and other plants grow healthier as well. A banana tree produces a banana, and a monkey eats the banana, and there's no waste. The banana peel deteriorates and becomes new life for the banana tree. And the feces of the monkey becomes more valuable to the banana tree than the banana itself, right? So you not only have a zero waste system of ecology, you have an iterative and evolutionary system of ecology where the banana creates more energy for the monkey than the monkey trying to extract energy from monkey feces. And the feces of the monkey creates more energy for the banana tree than the rotting banana, because if nobody harvests a banana tree, the bananas fall to the ground and rot and produce energy for the banana tree. The energy is just not as dense, not as nutritious for the banana tree as the feces of the animals that eat it. And so you have a synergy dynamic where I give you a form of energy and you do something with it that makes it more valuable to me than the energy I gave you. And then you give me energy back that's more valuable. And this is, in a crude sense, the capitalist system. I value money more than I value an hour of my time, and you value an hour of my time more than you value the money that you give me for that hour, and we create a synergy. Now, simple cults, simple cultures create simple systems, and simple systems have a lot of waste. Simple goals have lots of waste. If my only goal is to make money, there's a tremendous amount of the planet that is a waste, because this isn't making me money, and that isn't making me money. And suddenly there's a large chunk of one's schedule that is wasted time. How do you waste time? You do something that doesn't fit into your agenda. Now, the simpler your agenda, the less that will fit into it. If my one agenda is to have sex with this woman in the next 24 hours, it's my one agenda. Well, the waitress comes over and makes, but that's not fitting into my agenda. And, you know, she wants to talk about her, that's not fitting into the agenda. And there's a call on, no, not now, that's not fitting into the agenda. And what about going to the arborists? You know, let's go to the arboretum and see that we can't have sex in an arboretum. That's not fitting into the agenda. And so the more narrow the focus, the more waste is generated, because waste is in the mind. First of all, there is no energy that is created or destroyed. It is transformed from one shape to another. Secondly, every shape, every pattern of energy is good for something and not good for other things. So if you have a very broad system of agendas, of goals, my goal is to create topsoil, my goal is to eat healthy food, my goal is to enjoy my family, my goal is to have beautiful dreams, my goal is to this, my goal is to that. If you have 100 different goals that are allocated throughout various spectrums of life, it's relatively easy to take every moment and everything and make it useful for something. You see, if you have a very ecological agenda, I want to improve my sleep, I want to improve my consciousness, I want to improve my body, I want to improve my planet, I want to improve your body, I want to improve your ecology over there on your land. I have agendas of, you know, so many kinds that everything that comes along fits into one of my agendas. Oh, this will be the perfect thing to make my wife happy. Oh, we've got too many of these, but Sally down the street needs one of these. This isn't waste. This is the perfect thing for Sally down the street, except if my agenda is narrow, Sally down the street is a distraction. The neighbor's kid is a distraction. Who cares about topsoil and the planet? That's neither here nor there. I'm doing this, and that's what I'm doing, and anything else, I'm not interested in having that conversation. I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in this. The more singular our focus, the more waste there is, the more obstacles the world is. One could say that if one has a single-minded purpose, in some ways, depending on one's lens, almost everything is waste. Almost everything is a distraction, a diversion, a competition from that one focus. I want to do this, and that's all I want to do. Now, this is also harder when you have two people. When you have two people who both have a single-minded focus, first of all, it rarely is the same. You know, I want to make $25 million before age 30. Well, I don't have the goal. Particularly, my whole life is not dedicated to you making $25 million before you're 30. It's not my single-minded goal. Well, then get out of my way. I need to find people who are only focused on that. So you get very, very thin in the goal because, you know, this has a lineal path. You then construct a probable path to that. Well, I need to be doing this, and that takes this amount of time, so this is a distraction. I don't have time for that, I don't have time for that, I don't have time for that either. And so suddenly there's a lot of waste, there's a lot of enemies out there. But if my goal, for example, is to be present in every moment, now there's zero waste in that paradigm. Someone makes a loud noise. Let me notice what I feel. Let me notice where my mind goes when someone makes a loud noise. Let me be present to that. That's just exactly what I need in order to be present for that, is that. And you, to be present to you, you are exactly who you need to be, because my goal is to be present to you. Wonderful. You've got this, you've got that, so many things to be present to. Moving towards a zero waste paradigm has a couple of components. One is a full circle design, not just grocery bags, plastic grocery bags accumulate in ever increasing numbers and then, get hauled off to a landfill and buried, where they don't do anything for the trees or the landfill or restoring oil or anything like that. So one is moving design into a circular process where the energy can go round and round and round more efficiently multiple times. You're not constantly depleting an energy pattern until ultimately there's none there. You're creating a circle. The other thing is looking ecologically to understand that every single thing in nature has a function, has a role. It may or may not fit our agenda, but it has an agenda. And it fits that agenda of a complex, evolving ecology of partnerships that are sustainable. Is an incredibly efficient model. If you believe the scientific narrative that the entire universe came out of less energy than this, right? Well, obviously it's a pretty neat system that has created, you, me, all these things, televisions, out of less than this amount of energy. And it just keeps creating more. The universe keeps getting bigger and bigger again, and more complex and more interesting and varied. And so it's an incredibly useful system. And so nature, reality around us, ecology, can teach us how to move towards a zero waste system. Now, the idea that there is no waste, there's just an illusion of waste, which is a word that we apply to energy. We lack the creativity, the innovation, the competence to do something useful with. So we either lack the creativity, the competence, the intelligence to have a goal that is big enough to include what is. That's one form of incompetence and design inability. Because there's a use for it, we just can't imagine what it is, right? Or we can imagine what it is, but we lack the competence. Like, I can imagine there's got to be a product that I could take all these bags and do this, and then it would come out like this, and that would be useful. I just don't know how to do it. You don't know how to do it either. So as a species, we lack the competence to turn the energy that we're calling waste, which is valuable energy, into a form that we know what to do with. And that's a movement. So I can develop more intelligence, more competence, more imagination. Now we have less inefficiency, because waste is an inefficiency. You have to do something with the waste. Haul it to a pit, bury the pit, pay for the hauling. And you get nothing out of it, because that's garbage, that's waste. But if you've got an end point where this happens and becomes useful to this point, and then it becomes useful to this point, and it just keeps on going. There's no point where the energy becomes useless. Now you've got a zero waste paradigm. Now, it's just as important in a fractal reality to eliminate physical waste as it is to eliminate emotional waste and mental waste. What is emotional waste? They are feelings that we don't know what to do with. So we call them stuff we don't want, garbage. Reality, thoughts, beliefs, sensations create feelings, And then the cult gives us a recipe, a protocol that says this is what you do with these feelings, this is what you do with these feelings, and we don't know what to do with these feelings. They're not wanted around here. Nobody wants to hear about this. So you've just created the illusion of waste. Emotional energy that nobody knows something useful to do with. Well, emotional energy is biology. It is the thing that creates the world. It is powerful. All behavior in human history has come out of emotional energy. So if you're chucking large portions of it away or spending some emotional energy to suppress and bury other emotional energy rather than transform it into a reality that we desire, well, that's an inefficient model. And what is mental waste? If this thought came up, that's a bad thought. But it came up, but it's a bad thought. So now you're in a tug of war, and I don't know what to do with it. This is distracting me. I'm supposed to be driving in this. I'm supposed to be thinking about this, but I'm thinking this, and then I'm judging it, and this, and judging it. And so I try and put it out of mind, put it in the bin, right? Just go away. That's the illusion of mental waste, a thought that we didn't know how to integrate into our reality. So the same consciousness, which is refracted with language, the same consciousness that creates our systems with language, also creates the remainder, that which doesn't fit in the box of the system. And that's what we're calling waste. We're calling it mental waste, financial waste, physical waste, emotional waste, psychic waste. It's energy we lack the creativity and competence to integrate. Now, why is it so useful to understand how to create a zero waste culture with physical waste? Well, one of the reasons is that what we do physically reflects and echoes at a denser level what we do mentally and emotionally. Meaning, if we didn't have the idea of waste, see, like someone invented that idea with their mind. So they invented the idea of waste. It's called that which we don't know what to do with. And then they invented a protocol of waste. Let's put it in a bin and then put it into a big truck and then haul it off into a hole in the ground. That's what we do with waste, right? That was invented. That's not what trees do with waste. Trees don't have any waste. It's not what dolphins do with waste. They don't have any waste. There is no waste outside the human brain. So the mountains of garbage, an American will generate 102 tons of garbage over a lifetime, 100 or 200 pounds of body weight, 200 tons of stuff that we don't know what to do with. Now, a Native American Indian did not leave a single kilogram of energy in a form they didn't know what to do with on death. There was no waste in the Native American paradigm. Now, that's suggestive of a collaborative relationship, of an inclusive relationship with the mind and with the heart. There weren't a bunch of thoughts that had to be suppressed. Many of the leaders in Native American cultures did not dominate and say what you should and need to do, which would then create waste with the people that dissent. Rather, they held space and they listened and they heard all parts of the equation, and kept talking and listening until the group came together without waste. There were no bad people. There were no bad thoughts and bad ideas. There were elements of the ecology. And a leader's job was to listen well. Well, that's very different from an American paradigm of leadership, where the job is to tell someone else what to do, and if they don't do it, punish them. And every time someone is non-compliant, that's waste. I told you to do that, you didn't do it, you did it wrong, that's waste, and you need to be punished or fired because you're a dead weight. You're producing waste. And this is the way it's going to be, and that's because, it's a pyramidal power structure, and that's the way it is, and I'm on top, and anything that disagrees with me is wrong, and is waste, and is bad, and is to be punished. We need to spend energy suppressing it, fighting it, firing it, hiring attorneys. The more waste we generate, the more tug-of-wars we're generating with ourselves. So this is the continuum of waste. Down here we have zero waste. And up here, everything is a waste, or 99% of it is a waste. We have a very, very narrow objective and everything's trying to diverge. But both of these words, waste and zero waste, they're just words, they're just language. And as we move towards a zero waste paradigm, a zero waste culture, we include more and more elements in the circle. We challenge ourselves to become more competent and more complex. We have more spaces for more parts of ourselves. We have more tolerance and openness to all of our thoughts and all of our feelings and can learn from them. Suddenly, a depressing thought isn't the enemy to be hidden and blocked, but maybe there's something depressing going on. What can we do about that? And something to respond to. Thank you. Hi, I'm Dane Rose. All knowledge begins with a paradigm, and out of that paradigm comes an idea, an awareness that we adopt, reject, or synthesize into something better. It doesn't become wisdom, it doesn't become useful until we take action, until we integrate it into not only our thoughts, but our feelings, our body, our words, and our way of being. For that to occur, we have to move from the passive media paradigm into more active engagement. In the link below, in the More Information section, is an invitation to join a very small, deliberately filtered, high-quality discussion with a group of people who share a common language and want to work with these ideas, with me and with one another, with the sole goal of creating 10 times more sustainable well-being for ourselves and those around us per unit of energy invested. Thank you for watching.